Welcome. How are you all doing? Awesome. Thank you all so much for being here. We are doing the CRM tricks to convert more leads on Autopilot session. And just to kind of kick things off, sorry, yep, there we go. Hello. So to kick things off, why is this important? So just for a show of hands, how many of you know that you need a CRM, but you basically have your contacts in your head, in your phone, in your emails, in your notebook, on your desk, all of the above? Awesome. You guys are in the right place.
Yeah.
So I have a really amazing panel here with me today to help break this all down so you can understand how to simplify and create a process around all of your contacts. So to kick things off, I'd love if you guys could start by introducing yourselves, who you are, where you're from, company, and what CRM you're currently using today. Oh, and just to kick things off, I'm Sunny Magner. I'm a business manager here at Side. Hello.
Hey, so my name is Mark Daya from SAC Platinum Realty. I'm in the Sacramento market. We just opened up a retail location too. Grand opening is on the 8th, so I'm super excited about it.
Woohoo! Congrats, I didn't know that. Hi, everybody. My name is Talar Davudi. I am with Real Estate Experts in San Jose, California. And Sunny, I know you mentioned the CRM. We're currently using Boomtown. That's the CRM we're currently working out of.
Awesome. And Mark, what are you guys using?
We're doing Follow Up Boss.
Awesome. Awesome. So to kick things off, I know we spoke a lot about this, but our first tip was really about organizing contacts and setting up those smart drips. So, I love that we have this panel because, Talar, you can really talk about this from an operator's perspective, being in it day in and day out, and Mark as a partner and how you kind of oversee this. So, Talar, can you kind of kick us off and tell us, as far as your contacts, how do you organize and tag your contacts? What's your system of organizing?
Yeah, absolutely. So our system of organizing is mainly just based on how likely somebody is to convert and when they're likely to convert. So each of our contacts, when they come into our system, are categorized. We use a specific system, which is like a hot, a nurture, and a watch, and they're all categorized based on when they're likely to transact. Are they looking to transact in the next 30 days? Are they looking to transact in the next 4 months, 6 months, depending on it? And this is going to be super important because if you want your systems to be effective, you want to make sure you know who you're contacting, when you're contacting them, and you have them super organized. So if once your leads are put into the system, as soon as you have that organized to a T, everything else you set up starting from there is going to just make you a lot more productive. So just make sure you're going in there and categorizing them based on, like I mentioned, when they're likely to and how likely they are to convert.
And you also categorize by lead source too, as well?
Yes, absolutely. Lead sources. So we have multiple lead sources that come in. Top of mind right now, we have maybe 5 or 6 that we work with a lot. And you want to make sure you're categorizing them by your lead source as well, because as they come in, again, you want to make sure that the systems that you set up later are going to be as relevant as possible. So make sure you're setting them up by lead source as well.
That's a big one, actually, because it's the later. Because right now, depending on what stage you are at in your CRM, down the road, you're going to be like, oh, I've got this great idea. Oh my gosh, who am I going to market that idea to? I've got this new program, whether it's I Love Revive or Homelight or whatever it is that you've got going on, or maybe some local event that you want to promote. How are you categorizing the people that are coming into your CRM? Did you meet them at an open house in a specific neighborhood? Do you want to add a specific tag to that person because of that? So for future marketing, you never know. So for example, a zip code tag, because you're going to do an event in a zip code and you want to invite everybody into it. So it's just, the key is to add as many tags as you can when you're entering them in, because you never know what you're going to want to reference back to.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And so based on that too, you subsequently set up your smart drip campaigns accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so can you kind of walk us through about how you set that up? How do you set up your drip campaigns based on different, target audiences, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. So the admin team, the ISA team, my team, what we basically like to do is we like to set up smart drips. So they're drips, different CRM systems use different words for them. You can call them sequences, whatever it may be. But for the smart trips, you want to be setting up those auto texts and auto emails to be as relevant as possible. So that's super important to build them out depending on lead sources. Like you mentioned, tags, events, whatever it may be going on, you want to make them as personalized as possible. You want to make sure that you're branding them well. You want to make them relevant to your brand, to your team, to the services that you guys provide. So you want to get into the granular parts of that, making them as detailed as possible, depending on the lead source as well as the stage they're in, right? There's going to be a different drip for somebody who's looking to transact in the next 30 days versus somebody who's looking to transact in a year. The push is going to be a little bit different. The frequency is going to be a little bit different. So those smart trips are going to be super important to be broken down by relevancy to the lead source that you're directing it to. And you want to make sure that they're staying relevant to the market currently. That's going to be a big one, but I'll let Mark talk to you a little bit.
Well, yeah, let me actually get raise your hand if you're not using Follow Up Boss. Okay, so then the vast majority are using Follow Up Boss. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to ask that is because she hit on a couple of key things there that are really important, but Follow Up Boss is not equipped to do some of it. So Follow Up Boss does have that initial auto text, but for whatever reason, Follow Up Boss, and I believe the reason is because something to do with spamming texting and some laws having to do with that. They're trying to avoid getting in trouble with auto texting, okay? So we can't do voicemail drips. We can't do auto texting campaigns built into Follow Up Boss. So you're actually going to have to use separate integrations for that. And I'm not sure if you've ever played with the last pull down menu in Follow Up Boss, but there's a button there called integrations and lists quite a few different companies that at least integrate with Follow Up Boss. I'm sure there's more that may not be on that list. But for example, I integrate call action into my Follow Up Boss system. And call action, you can do auto texting drips, incorporating video into the text message that goes out. So when you are looking to, when that lead comes in, however you want to categorize them, whether they're a short-term conversion or something that's a longer drip campaign, you're going to want to set up possibly a different kind of campaign for each kind of lead, if from a hot, warm, cold, or less than 90 days, 90 to 180 days, then beyond 180 days would be an example of what she's talking about. And with Follow Up Boss, you just have to understand that the only drip that comes with the system is going to be the email campaign. So look at the side generated email campaigns, or maybe you want to create your own with your own voice. Look, I get it takes time to set up, and it sucks. There's just no way to sugarcoat it, because if you want to add your own voice, you're going to have to add your own voice. You have to do it yourself. But there's these other integrations that could help build a really robust campaign, for you to consider.
Yeah. Actually, on that, if you're lucky enough to have a marketing team, or if you have an ISA team, I would encourage them to set these up. So our team will build them out, but they are pretty generalized. So I always encourage our agents to take the time out of your day to really personalize these. What do I mean by personalize is you want to not only make sure it's relevant to the market, but it's relevant to you. It's relevant to your team and the value that you serve, right? Everybody here is unique. Everybody has unique services. So make those shine in those emails that are going out. So for example, if you do a lot of YouTube videos, or if you like to do video, we have something that we do, Agent on Fire. So we feature an agent every month. And if you just happen to be that agent, make sure you integrate that in there. Make sure you integrate, if you did an interview, or if you are featured in any way, go ahead and put those in there. Make sure you're top of mind. So the beauty of the Smart Trip is we get really busy, right? Some of our agents are in there, and they're out there, and they're doing a bunch of transactions. That follow-up kind of falls behind. And you want to make sure that you're still staying top of mind and relevant with all of those clients that you don't have the time to follow up with. And that's where the automation comes in. But you want to make sure you're staying relevant as well. Your face is out there, you're seeing them. They're getting a lot of emails, they're getting text messages. You want to make sure that you're standing out. So taking that time out of your day, or you can just set one day a month, right? And you're like, okay, I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to take all my smart trips, and I'm going to really personalize them. I'm going to add some flair in there, put a funny video in there. Sometimes just send them an email saying hi with like a funny video or something. Just keep it light, keep it funny, and just stay top of mind. I think that's going to be the most important thing. Let that automation do those base touches for you while you're busy converting, because you want to make sure you want to stack your pipeline, right? Because once all those deals close, what do you have coming up if you're too busy to pick up the phone and follow up, right? You're just kind of like, now you're scrambling and you're kind of backtracking. You're trying to do that follow up. Let the CRM do it for you. Make sure it's doing it well. So you have to put that time in on the side to make sure that you integrate yourself into these emails and these text messages so the clients are getting the best of you. It's kind of the best way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I know we talked about it a little bit earlier too, but you mentioned just setting up these drip campaigns. It's a bit of a daunting task. And I think we spoke about a little bit that there are a couple of resources that you've leveraged to kind of help you build out these campaigns. So do you have a couple of those that you could put out to recommend? And we do have a QR code at the end of the slide deck here with a link to all the tips and some resources too to leverage for drip campaigns. But are there a couple you can just share off the top of your head?
Yeah, one of my favorite ones to use is Viral. Viral is a system that we use, and sometimes what they'll do is they'll send out a lot of relevant information to the market. And one of my favorite things is that they'll actually give suggestions of emails you can use that are really current to what's going on. And I'll take those and I'll kind of break them up into bits and pieces, make them sound like me, and I'll put them into the drips instead of just sending out one email blast. I'll break it up and, text message here and email there to just stay relevant, right? So Viral's been one of my favorites to use. I use a lot of different online real estate, just small little, I'll go in and just find an online magazine that's real estate related, or just, go to your fellow agents. That's going to be a big one as well, too. And just see if there's anything relevant going on to real estate in the news, and I'll just kind of pop it in there. Breakthrough broker. Perfect. There it is. And then I'll just go ahead and integrate that into my messaging as well. But Viral's been one of the biggest ones for me.
Yeah, Viral with a Y.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Viral with a Y.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is my mic? Okay, yeah. I hear it now. Okay.
I thought about that too.
Yeah.
Any that you use in particular, Mark?
Yeah, I was mentioning call action. One of the nice little perks about call action as well is that text for more info writer that you could put on a for sale sign. So they do auto texting. So response. So you could say text address for more information, and then they text the word address, and then I'll have an auto response says, please enter the house number that you're interested in. And those, 3105 or whatever it is. And then I have another auto response says, more information about the property, but, with a single property website link on there. But now, you capture their information. You could use a call capture. You could have different phone numbers in the system. So you could have maybe if you have different marketing sources. I've got one phone number that's on my window for the office. I've got one number that's on Google. I've got one number that's on Facebook. I've got a different number that goes on the flyers. I have a different number that's on the for sale sign. So when my phone rings and I see, it tells me what the source is, it's like sign call. Oh, okay, right. So that's nice as well. And you could build drip campaigns, text drip campaigns like I was saying before with call action. Other one that I'm starting to implement right now is Happy Grasshopper. That I believe integrates with Follow Up Boss too. But I'm currently building that one. So I'm not quite all the way there to explain the whole thing.
Sure.
What else? Real Scout. I know a lot of side partners use Real Scout, and when you integrate Real Scout for its listing alerts, you could now see their website activity in Follow Up Boss on their profile page. So now you could even sort by most recent activity, in Follow Up Boss, and that's hey, you want to talk to who's actively looking, right? So that's a great way to sort in your prospects on who you want to talk to that day.
Yeah, which I think is actually a perfect segue to our next tip, which is leveraging e-alerts. So Talar, can you tell us a little bit about how you leverage e-alerts and how they help you stay on touch with your clients and know when to follow up?
Yeah, absolutely. So e-alerts are pretty much property alerts, sending your clients property alerts. It is the most basic way to stay in touch with your clients. If there's one thing you're going to do to stay in touch with them while you guys are busy, send them property alerts. And our CRM system allows us to send properties directly from the CRM system. And I know some people like to send from MLS or other systems, but working out of just one system really makes your life a lot easier. Instead of running around and trying to look at different things, just working out of our CRM has been easy. But property alerts are the most basic way to put it is truly just sending them out property alerts. But we like to do them for our buyers and our sellers. So our buyers, everybody knows the basic, properties people are looking. And again, depending on what stage of buying they're in, of course, that's how we adjust the frequency. So if people are, I'm ready to transact the next 30 days, right? You want to send those every day, instantly. We send them out instantly, actually. But if you have somebody who's like, I'm not going to be buying for another 6 months or so, Obviously, I'm not going to send that guy properties every day. He's probably mad at me. So, but I am going to be doing it maybe a couple times a week or once a month. But the seller ones, those really stand out to me. And why the seller ones are important, and if you have your CRM system allows you to do it, is again, just to kind of stay top of mind. So a lot of times when I talk to people as an ISA and they tell me, you know what, Talar, I'm not going to be buying for another year. Thanks, but I'll see you then. Are you going to really wait a year? Absolutely not. So one of the main things I like to do is I ask them, it's like, hey, totally understandable, but can I send you a property alert once a month? Just to kind of keep you in the loop of what's going on in your neighborhood. And I'll keep it relevant to their neighborhood. And everybody here knows you're always curious, our clients are always curious as to how much their neighbor's home is selling for. Especially in a market we've been seeing in the last few months or the last year. People are always curious to see those, those numbers jump. There's an open house down the street, and who shows up most of the time? It's neighbors, right? So people are always going to be interested in how much their neighbor's home is going for. So, and one of the main things is when somebody tells me they're going to buy in a year, I don't believe them. Or sell in a year, I immediately don't believe them. So, and that's another great way to keep in touch with them with the property alerts is we get alerts when somebody has activity within those property searches. So if somebody tells me, I'm not going to sell for a year, but then about 6 months down the line, I see them actively starting to look at those property alerts, I know it's time to reach out and be like, hey, Mark, I know you've been out there, you've been, taking a look at these properties. If you decide to sell a little bit sooner, or are you just curious, and then just start that conversation with them. But property alerts for buyers are really important, but sellers are just as important, just to, again, stay top of mind and kind of just remind them that you're here as a resource when they're ready.
If you're not doing that, HomeBot is another great one to use for that. For that purpose alone, it's worth subscribing to HomeBot.
Yeah, I agree. And then we also mentioned, setting up for buyer to seller. And then you also mentioned you also do, as far as the team, you guys do like a power hour, or you do some sort of daily kind of time where you dedicate to literally checking on those alerts and seeing the activity.
Yeah, I encourage my agents and my ISAs, not my agents, our agents, to do a daily power hour. When you hear power hour, you assume like calls. No, I mean power hour to just take that hour in the beginning of your day and to focus on the activity in your CRM. So our CRM allows you to set to-dos, for example, and the great part of the to-dos is it lets you set it and forget about it. So if you talk to a client, they say, and if your system allows you to use this, it's probably going to be the most prominent tool that you use in your CRM and the most useful tool, because when you talk to a client and they tell you, things are great right now, but call me back in 2 weeks. You set that to do for 2 weeks and you forget about it, right? You don't have to worry about it. You jot it down on a piece of paper that you throw away, and you're like, when am I supposed to call Mary? I don't know. So these to-dos will kind of set that up for you, and so that when the day comes for you to call that person, it'll just remind you. So I tell people, take an hour every morning before you start your day and go through your system. Check your to-dos, check your property alerts, check the activity, and those are the people that you should be following up first, right? And it kind of sets your follow-up for you. The CRM just does all the work for you, so that you follow up with whoever you have to follow up for with the day. You do your calls, you do your emails, and then you get on with your day. So that's going to be super important.
Look, that is the whole point of the CRM. Like, you could throw your contacts in there, and then what? What's the point?
Yeah.
Right.
You might as well use an Excel spreadsheet, right? The whole point of a CRM is to make your life easier. And if you have, as you get busier and busier, and you have open house leads, and you have internet leads, and then you have your past clients and your sphere of influence. I have 10,000 names in my CRM. Like, how do you manage 10,000 names? What is the point? The point of having a CRM is to have a tool that's going to help you make money, right? That's the goal at the end of the day. So how do you manage your CRM? That is the single most important thing that you're going to do, which is your task list. Every single day, you should look at your task list, which is what it's called in Follow Up Boss, and see what you have to do that day. When she was just referencing, I need to call this person in 2 weeks, when it's somebody I know I need to call in 2 weeks, because I'm not the best at always checking my task list every single day. I'm sure I'm not the only one in this room. I'll set a date on it, I will set a time on it, and it'll be like an email reminder. So I'll get an email like 10 minutes before it's due, just like, gotta get on this one. Don't forget to do this one. So email reminder is great. And then the next thing to do from a management perspective, Follow Up Boss has what's called smart lists. I'm sure many of you guys have heard of that. Now, how you organize your smart lists is really, really important. I'm not sure, just a quick raise of hands. I just want to make sure that I'm not like preaching to the choir and everybody is already doing everything that I'm suggesting. Have you guys developed your smart list so that way that it's filtered in such a way where your newest leads are in the front, followed by the people that you have not been able to reach, followed by the people that maybe like that are most recently active? Do you guys do anything like that? Just a couple of people. Okay, let me explain what this means, because this is really important. I have about 15 different categories of 15 different smart lists. Starting from I call it number 1, and then all the way to number 15, and with a name. So number 1 is new leads. And what is defined, how do you define a new lead? A new lead has lead, quote unquote, as the stage. So that's the generic way it comes in. I add a filter to it that says never been contacted. Like there's no communication attempts or anything like that. So that field is empty. And there hasn't been any, no, that's it for that one, okay? So when I open up my CRM in the morning, I want to know what is the one newest lead that is in there, less than 7 days old, has the lead as a status on it that's never been communicated. I think that's the person I want to talk to first in the day, right? It's the freshest lead. Whatever falls into that category is going to be brand new. Number 2, I'm going to add an extra filter onto it. Hasn't been spoken to, or no communication attempt in the last 20 hours. I don't do 24 hours because depending on the time of the day, I don't know. I do 20 hours. Hasn't been spoken to 20 hours. So I attempt to contact them on the first day. The next day, they're going to be in that, the next day, they're going to be in list number 2. So when I go to work the next day and open up my CRM, I'm going to go through number 1, brand new stuff. Number 2, all the brand new stuff that I haven't been able to get a hold of. And then, of course, that one's going to stay in there until it ages out. At 7 days and nobody's been able to get a hold of it, I have an automatic campaign to kick them out and put them into the pond, where anybody who needs to make phone calls, looking to dig for leads, is going to be able to go into the pond and find it, right? Then after that, it's going to be, okay, hot leads. These are people that are categorized as less than 90 days, your version of it, and most recently active on the website less than 7 days. Okay, great, save that one. See where I'm going with this? And then you can go from the freshest leads to the hottest leads, to the ones that have done some kind of activity on the website that has generated, maybe they've viewed a property 3 times or something like that. Oh, okay, maybe they were 6 months, but they're seeing a property 3, 4 times, 5 times now. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me see what's going on with this one. So when you can create your smart list this way, and then you start your day, and your job is to clear out your lists. You start with number 1. Once you make those communications, they disappear from that list because the filter kicks it out. You see what I'm saying there? Then you go to number 2, then you go to number 3, and you start going through and you start adding these communication fields in there. It starts clearing out the lists. And your job on every single day is to move from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, all the way down, and clear out all of the lists. And then you've done what you're supposed to do that day, and you're staying on top of your hottest leads. So that way you are not dropping the ball on opportunities. That is the point of a CRM. It's to make money. And creating these lists, these smart lists, allow you to do it so you can manage your day and your pipeline better. And the worst thing is just because you didn't get an escrow, they're in there and you just dropped the ball, you didn't stay in touch with them.
Yeah. And we're kind of on tip number 3, which is system management. But Mark, I know you have an ISA that works with you. And so how do you work with your team as far as how integrated or involved are you in the system itself? How much of it are you delegating to your team? What's the kind of cadence there as far as keeping touch and having the visibility that you need?
Yeah. I no longer have the ISA, but that's another story. The ISA was there to pick up the slack. It is the agent's primary responsibility to go through and manage those leads that are assigned to them. And I know we get busy in the day, goes back to power hour, however you want to set it up, or we time block. a time in the day. Typically, it's easiest to do it first thing in the day, because if you wait till the end of the day, stuff gets in the way. And you're supposed to do your prospect time every single day. If you're going to, it's sales, always got to be closing. And if you're not making those phone calls, you're not going to, you need to be able to set that up.
Yeah. And Talar, I know you kind of jumped into it a little bit, but is that kind of how you tackle, as far as like starting your day with your CRM, how do you tackle that? Yeah,
it's the first thing I do. When I after everything in the morning, I usually will sit down. It's the first thing I do. I check all the activity from that morning, and I will follow up depending on if, for example, someone is engaging in property alerts, right? Whether it's a seller or a buyer, those are the first people I want to follow up with. If anybody's texted me back or emailed me back, that's going to be the second thing I'm going to look at, right? I'm going to give them a call. And then, of course, I'm also going to follow up with, I guess, any kind of activity that's going on there. The to-dos are going to be super important, right? My number one job as an ISA is to keep up with clients. So the automation really just helps me with that. And honestly, if you're not using an automated system, that's a process that could take a couple hours a day. Just figuring out who you're supposed to call, when you're supposed to call them. This system, by automating your outreach, it's going to take a couple-hour process and turn it into 15, 20, 30 minutes max. An hour, right, when you're following up, and maybe you'll have a long conversation here and there, but it's going to take this long process of that time of shifting through your contacts and your text messages and your email of like, okay, who's I supposed to call? When was I supposed to call them? Let it do 90% of the work for you, and you just have to go out there and convert. So taking that and just restricting it. Don't think.
Just go through the list. That's what the lists are for. They're there to simplify your day, to just make the phone calls. Heck, we even have a dialer now built into Follow Up Boss.
That's also true.
I was paying for Follow Up Boss before Side picked up the bill. I mean, I cannot believe, like, when I tell other brokers that what Side does for us in terms of paying for the CRM, the Follow Up Boss CRM, which everybody seems to use, I mean, they just can't believe it. It is really, we're very blessed to have Side be able to offer that for us, pick that up, implement that dialer. Look, use those smart lists. Don't think about it. Just make the phone calls. And from a partner perspective, I can see who's making the phone calls. You've got the tracking. You've got the leaderboard. You have the reports. You can go through, you see the lists. You see these smart lists that you've created. You can see how many names are in there. When there's not supposed to be any names, because they're supposed to be cleared out if you actually made the communication. And then now you know, okay, who's falling short, who didn't make the phone calls, do you need to pause the leads? All of that, comes together really nicely in a CRM.
Yeah. And I know, Talar, you had mentioned that like every 6 months or so, you guys go in and kind of refresh your campaigns and whatnot. So are you doing that as well as with all your tagging systems and all of that? So every 6 months you guys are going in kind of doing a spring cleaning of all that?
Yes. So we have layers to it. So again, if you have an ISA team or an admin team, even a marketing team, whatever it may be, leverage them as an agent. But the system is scalable, whether you're one agent by yourself doing it or you have a team of 100 or 200, whatever it may be. It's a total scalable system, and updating them is going to be the most important thing you do. So this is something that we've recently learned is you can set up one of these drips, right? That was relevant about 6 or 7 months ago, but it's not relevant today. The market's consistently shifting and it's consistently changing. So you not only want to be a resource to your clients, but you want to stay relevant, right? If you're sending them news from like 7 months ago, if they've heard about it already, you already know it's too late. But as an agent, you want to make sure you're staying relevant. So we go in and we will update them every 6 months. And just depending on how the market is performing, new content, new quality of content, if something just has happened with our brokerage, if we hit a milestone, right? You don't want to just keep it business, keep it personal as well. If you've had a great success recently, let your clients know they want to hear about it, right? They know that you have a personal relationship with you as well as a professional one. So we will go in and we'll update those every 6 months. And we add another layer to it. The ISA team, for example, right now there's a lot of stuff going on. So not only on top of those smart drips is that we will also create email templates and text templates that agents can use as a one-time or two-time basis to just add another layer of contact with their clients. So for example, recently we've done a market update, right? There's a lot happening in the world. Current events, how is that affecting your real estate market? For some people who are hesitant, maybe some buyers who've pulled out of the market because they were a little bit hesitant with what's going on, we'll send hey, why don't we do a 22 market update and show you how the current events are affecting the current real estate market. Or another cool thing that we do is deal of the week. So we have a team of about 80 agents, and we all have listings coming. So in a low inventory market, this has been huge to get some buyers out of weeds. So once a week, we'll go in. It's the same email. We just change the property in there and be like, hey guys, there's this great property that's coming to the market in the area that you're looking, and we'll send out a deal of the week. So on top of those smart trips that you're updating every 6 months and that you're keeping relevant, you want to also create some text templates, some email templates that are like really current, what's going on right now, and use those. And even if you don't have an ISA team to do this for you or a marketing team to do this for you, if you as an agent take about an hour a week and take some relevant content and turn it into an email or text messages to send as a second layer over these smart trips, it's going to be super helpful for you. But the smart trips, I agree, as you mentioned, Sunny, to bring it up to you, every 6 months minimum, you should be updating them to stay current with the market so that you're actually being a resource to your clients and not just sending them an email, just send them an email.
And that's why it is so important to tag everything correctly and to have them in the right stage. So that way you can send out the appropriate text, the appropriate material to the appropriate people. Because when you have 10,000 people or more in your database, and eventually, I mean, hopefully we all get there, right? You're going to want to be able to send customized messages to specific groups of people without having to think about it. You just have an idea, I want to send it, and you could just do it and send it.
Actually, it's really good, just to add a layer to that, right? So if you have a handful of clients who only want leads from a specific zip code, right? And we all have that guy who only wants leads in a specific zip code. So they're probably getting, let's be honest, information from other agents too, but if you're just sending them that deal of the week email that is for a property specifically only in the zip codes they are looking for because you've done the homework and you've taken the time to tag them correctly, and you now can pull up those tags and just send the emails to those people, again, it's just going to show your professionalism and your attention to detail as an agent. So just, again, it takes back to, again, if you just take that time to organize well in the beginning, all of these systems will work in your favor a lot better.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you both. We have some time for Q&A, so if anybody has any questions for the panel, feel free to jump up to one of the mics and feel free to ask a question. Or did we overwhelm you? This next slide here, just so you know, if you scan the QR code, it's going to have a one-pager to everything that we just spoke to, as well as some of those useful guides that we were suggesting earlier.
Just out of curiosity, like how many people in here are admin and like ISAs or sales? Okay, a lot of people out there. There's one more thing I want to add to that, Sunny, really quickly, since I don't know if there's questions. If there's questions, just shout them out. But as an admin, as a sales manager, I do this thing where I like to get together with my agents because as much as we're out there and we're creating, and I empower you guys to go out and create these smart trips and these alerts for your client, for your agents, but I do this thing where I meet with them at least once a week. We do market updates and pulse of the market. We know what's going on, but the agents are the ones who have their boots on the ground and they really see what's going on out there. So I do this thing with them where I meet with them and we do this thing called, what are you seeing, what are you saying? I ask them, like, what are you seeing out there and what are you saying? And I take that information from them and I input that into my outreach as well as their outreach so that you have a lot of relevant information, because the stuff you're reading is the stuff you're reading, but the stuff that your agents are actually experiencing is really what's going to make the difference for them. So taking that information and putting those in emails and text templates is going to make all the difference as well. And then I encourage your agents out here to reach out to your ISAs, reach out to your admin, and reach out for that help to get your CRM in gear, because they're the people who are going to understand it. So I would say touch base with them once a week and make sure that your CRM system is working well and it's working to make sure that you're successful as well. So
that's a good idea. I think I'm going to steal that one. Yeah. What are you seeing? What are you saying?
Yeah.
I can see that as a email subject line.
Yeah. What are you seeing? What are you saying?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Question over there.
Not voice drops. Our system doesn't allow to do voice drops, but we do utilize videos a lot, on the spot videos in our text messages. We do voice drops on voicemails. We do, like our, Brett, who's our founder, he will do voice drops on voicemail. But as far as the text message and the emails, we're just utilizing videos and just text in those.
So you do video marketing, or you do video email marketing?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
That's where some of the other integrations come into play.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to learn a little bit more about that, about the integrations from those applications that you're using.
Yeah.
Because with our old CRM system, it did that. Now I'm
Yeah. We also have in the Genius Bar over here, we do have a CRM booth that if you do have any of those specific questions about integrations or just for certain use cases, I highly recommend going to that Genius Bar too, and our team will be able to talk to you one-on-one.
That's actually a really good point, because I'm sure that we all talk to our business managers and we all maybe explain certain pain points that come up. These things get filtered up to the right people, and there may be best of solutions, or like they've already figured out best budget solution for voicemail drops, or things like that. So yeah, definitely check out the Genius Bar on that. I'd be surprised if it didn't have the exact answer for that.
Yeah. Question in the back?
Can you elaborate on using video and exactly how you implement that, or is that a better question for the Genius Bar? But if you could kind of just walk us through that, how you would actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're sending text messages on the spot, you can actually just drop a video into them. But a lot of the times we use a lot of links. So for our agents who like to, Vimeo is a great one. I don't know if anybody utilizes Vimeo, but you can, on the spot, record videos on there, drop the link into the email. We have a lot of agents that use YouTube just for doing updates and stuff, so YouTube videos. And then, like I mentioned, we do that thing called Agent on Fire. So every month we feature an agent who's just absolutely killing it. And so it's a lot of links. So we'll add a lot of links in there. So aside from just info dumping them with a lot of resources, it's like, hey, just check out this really cool video I did recently this month. Just, check out how awesome I am. So just little things like that. So it's mostly links. So utilizing things like Vimeo, YouTube, and even our website. So, right, I'm sure most of you guys who have websites have a lot of videos on there, right? Maybe someone's doing market updates or whatever it may be. Utilize those, take those links, drop them in there, and just be like, hey, check out this quick 15-minute video on why the market's doing what it's doing this month, and then just kind of engage them that way. So they're not actual videos embedded into it, but they'll be links.
Would you happen to know what your open rate is?
You know what?
It
No.
probably doesn't have that capability because it's just a link.
It doesn't have the capability of the open
Right.
link. Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. But I was going to actually mention that too. Make sure you have a really good, kind of piggyback off that, make sure you have a good mixture of text messages and emails in there, right? Because people vary, generations, right? People's technology usage. So you want to make sure you're catering to everybody. You have your email crowd, so make sure you're email heavy, but also make sure you're integrating a lot of text messages in there as well, because most of us these days are utilizing text message. So make sure if you have the capability to use a good mix of those in there, and you're not just being too email heavy or too text heavy in there, and just make sure you're keeping a balance there.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to use, for example, call action, you can upload the video in there, and then if you do work online leads, for example, maybe you want to have some automated way of getting in touch with them, and one of them will be a generic email that a generic video that you embed into that intro text message that goes to them. So that way it's like, hey, by the way, this is Mark, this putting a face to the name. Listen, if you have any questions about real estate, I'll be here to help, or just here to answer any questions you have, or let me know what zip codes you're most interested in. I'll just make sure that you're getting the listings that are most interesting to you. I don't know, just making that up on the spot, right? But you just do some kind of generic intro email or video depending on the lead source, and you can build a campaign on different lead sources, and that's something that you could definitely do.
Awesome. Yeah.
How do you, as leaders, integrate this with your team, and as staying? Because in a lot of the lead sources, it's under my name, but I'm helping pass it off to the team. So how are you using the CRM to help integrate to keep yourself present in front of the customers? Or are you?
Yeah, so I've got depending on the lead source, I have some of them set up as round robin. So Facebook leads, that kind of lead is coming in as a round robin style, okay? And so it'll automatically get assigned to another agent, and then there's going to be a drip campaign automatically established where it fills in the agent name, and so it does have that. Now, to take it to the next level, every agent is going to have to build their video, right? Every agent's going to have to do all of that. Now, that's we have not done that, but so as it is right now, it's still just set up with agent fill on all of that stuff. But then you have other lead sources where I have these other campaigns that are running, like I've just previously described. But if you wanted to do it the way you're suggesting, which is in case you guys didn't hear in the back, when you're having a team and you you're routing the leads across the board to different agents. How do you do it? Well, right now they're going to have to build it out individually themselves with their own content, or you're just going to have to leave it generic where you don't have the extra videos or the extra voicemail drops, but you're just going to have the agent name be filled or signature line, whatever, just be auto-filled.
Awesome. Any other questions? Yeah.
Couple.
Yeah, of course.
For Mark, you were saying that you go in and you talk to the leads, and then you have the filter for the people you haven't spoken to
Yeah.
for 20 hours.
Yeah.
What are the other? Because I think you mentioned you have a whole list.
Yeah. So
So the question for Mark is, what are all the different filters or kind of lead categories that he has?
I don't have them all memorized, but I'll give you the concept of how I
You don't
have
have
it.
all 15 memorized?
No, I don't have to. But it goes from new to new, not contacted, to hot, recent activity. Then I have, what comes next? Here's the top 3 that I focus on the most. It'll go to maybe not contacted. They're longer term, so maybe they've been categorized as a C lead or something like that, but haven't been contacted in X number of months or X number of weeks, right? So the concept, just on a high level here, is you are trying to sort out who is the hottest people that you want to talk to. Right? You want to talk to the freshest leads, 1. You want to talk to the most active leads, 2. You want to talk to the people that you've spoken to at some point in the past where they're no longer in lead status. You've actually determined that they have some intent and what the timeline of that intent is. And then you're going to categorize it by, the A, B's, and C's that way. But then within that, you're going to categorize it with who's most recently active. You want to focus on the people that you've established have higher intent as most recently active on the website, right? Or looking at properties. And you're going down the line to maybe a list of just your hot buyers, a list of your warm buyers, a list of your cold buyers, a list of the people that you added to the pond, so nobody's ever been able to get a hold of them, but they're doing a lot of website activity. So you're seeing a ton of action, but just nobody's getting a hold of them. But, maybe that one might, you want to move up a little bit earlier in the list. Maybe we call that one a number 5 or something like that, or number 6. So you want to figure out who do you want to talk to and how do you want to define what that is. And you just set up your filter and you save it. When you save all of it, and then you just add the number 1 in front, you change the name, add it to number 1, and then you just order them the way you want to display it, and you share those lists with your whole team, and you tell them, I need you to order your smart list from 1 to 15. And every single day, you're going to go in there and start with number 1, and then go to number 2, and go to number 3, go to number 4, and then do a minimum of 50 phone calls a day. And then, congratulations, you did what you're supposed to do. Well, the point is just to not think about it.
Yeah.
If you could just tell your team, don't think about it, don't figure out who you need to call. It's already figured out for you. Just start with number 1.
Awesome. Any other questions?
The frequency of contact, or there's I have active down, but like 30 to the 90 days. Like, how frequently do you get in front of them?
When they're outside that 30-day window, okay, well, so first of all, you've already established contact with them because they're in the 30 to 90-day window, right? So they're your B person, not your A person. So you've determined that that's the case. Usually at least every 2 weeks, I'm wanting to stay in touch with them, because if they're 90 days, I mean, that's I still consider that an A in my book. Less than 90 days that can happen anytime. There's A, then there's showing homes, right? So once they're showing homes, they're almost out of the CRM. In other words, you better be talking to them daily. They're your client.
Hey, Mark, do you incorporate call scripts with your smart lists?
We don't do that, but we should.
Yeah.
Why you got to put me on the spot, make me look bad, Jeff?
So you just tell your agents, pick up the phone and start.
Yeah, so look, it's a couple of things that are going on here. One, if they've been categorized, they've already been spoken to. So there's been some kind of intent established that you've had that conversation, there's something going on there, and it's your job to read the notes to figure out what you're going to say next, because every single one of those is going to be different. Really, the scripts are going to come most into play when, and you can back me up on this one, is when they're in the pond, or if it's a new lead and never been contacted. You want to expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have different scripts. We have follow-up scripts as well for people who are like a certain, that's more like it. People who are in a pond, people you're trying to reactivate, or people you haven't spoken to yet are going to be the main people. Everybody else you're just having a conversation with. How's it going? When you're looking to buy, that kind of stuff. But yeah, the scripts we only usually utilize for people who we haven't really spoken to yet, or we are trying to revive people who maybe we never got on contact with, or are 2 years out and we're trying to convince them to buy a little or sell a little bit sooner. Those are the ones that we usually use the scripts for. Everybody else is just kind of have a conversation. Pick up the phone and call them. Now, of course, don't let CRM do all of the work for you. We always, of course, pick up the phone. Voice to voice is really important. We do have a system for that too. Like, for example, leads that are, 3 months or even, ready to transact in the next 60 days, we say voice to voice contact at least once a week. People who are 4 weeks below, voice to voice every 2 weeks. And then anybody who's 4 months and out is voice to voice contact at least once a month. And then in the meantime, your CRM is doing a touching base with text message and emails. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree.
Awesome. Well, I know we're at time. Mark, Talar, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for attending. I hope you have a good rest of your day.